Well, our next fintech, Paytron, is a cloud-based corporate treasury, payments and expense management platform, which allows finance teams to have better oversight and control over company cash flow and spend, something that right now is even more important than ever. To tell us more, I'm now joined by the Paytron co-founder, Jaco Veldsman. Jaco, great to have you on the show. I sort of said it slightly in jest, but it is true. Everyone is really focused at this point in time on counting the pennies and making sure that they have the runway in their startup or their business more broadly. How is Paytron helping them with that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. It's good to be back on the show again. We have gone out of our way to make sure that we are bringing one simple place for people to log into. What we've found is our customers have been saying to us that they don't want multiple apps anymore. There's a little bit of app fatigue out there, but also there's a bit of a problem where people cannot see one place where they can operate and see what their cash flows are. So our company has managed to do that. We've put the final piece of our puzzle into place this week with the launch of our corporate card program, and that seems to have worked very well.
Well, do tell us a little bit about that, and who does it suit? Because people, especially in a small business, often think that corporate cards are really for, big banks and major companies. Can it work for a team of 10 or 20 people?
Absolutely, and I mean that's a great question. There's definitely a perceived idea out there where it's not accessible to startups and well-funded small companies. Where our target market is exactly in the area that you're saying. From about 5 to 10 employees upwards, it starts becoming a real problem where people are struggling to kind of get access to these corporate cards. It's not so much a problem in terms of their business, it's more a technical problem. We've managed to do that by actually allowing people to issue virtual corporate cards to each employee in the business. So the idea behind it is it's not necessarily revolutionary, but because we've combined it with a payments platform, you now have your payments and your expenses in one place. So you can manage your entire business ecosystem with approvals built in. And therefore, if you have all your employees in one place, you can better oversee and control what your spend is in the business.
And you can also see how often the DevOps team is out for lunch along the way at what particular restaurants. Look, you kicked off with some major multinational customers as well as some smaller VCs. What's the feedback you've had from them as they've started to embrace Paytron and use it across the board of their business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think originally the mistake that we made as a company when we launched is we thought that our business platform is mostly suited to kind of smaller to mid-market companies. What surprised us is that the larger the company becomes, it becomes a much bigger problem. And people tend to throw a lot of humans at the problem. And as you know, right now, Simon, there's a massive issue in terms of staff and people are struggling. I mean, I think your previous guest, who I'm a big fan of, actually spoke of that as well. And they mentioned of the fact that there's a great retention going on because there are staff shortages. And in this particular case, what we're allowing people to do is to automate a lot of that work in the background, and therefore it allows them to get through a lot of the manual effort that used to happen.
Now, you've raised, I think, around about 10 mil for the business so far. Where are you in terms of that runway and your future plans for capital?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's if you look at the amount that we've raised, we don't like to kind of brag about it because I think you'll hear me talk about it in the industry as well. There's no big moment to be proud of because you've raised a couple of $1 million. It's what is the amount of value that you're bringing to the end customer? What is the amount of value that you're actually bringing to people? And are you making a difference in the ecosystem? So for us, we're using that runway right now to actually keep building. And just to your previous point, now suddenly we are seeing very large companies that are importers and exporters in particular that are reaching out to us and saying, hey, you've solved our previous problem in payments so well. Can you solve this problem for us in other markets? So we've recently partnered with JP Morgan as well, who have been phenomenal. And I think that this is a big deal in the fintech industry, Simon, because previously, fintechs and banks have stared at each other from across the ditch and go like, who is actually the whole enemy in the story? And in our case, we've found a partner in JP Morgan saying, we don't think that the way forward is an enemy approach. we think working together, you can actually provide so much more value to various people in this ecosystem. So we are using this current, we're using this current raise to expand into markets like New Zealand and into the UK.
Oh, well, you've kind of answered my next question. So along the way, you're raising capital, but you're looking for international expansion. It's interesting what you said just then, because you've realised you're a solutions provider for companies that have problems that they come to you with nowadays. What are some of the more interesting and crazy moments where you turn around to the team and say, do you think we can do this? You know, what's next on that drawing board in terms of possibility for Paytron?
Simon, it's the biggest problem that we're facing is saying no. There are so many opportunities out there that we have these crazy moments regularly. I think what was very exciting very recently is our partnership with Rugby Australia, where they approached us and said, we need to build out to a new ERP system for them. They're very much interested in using our corporate cards program. And therefore, they had this little moment where they said, listen, we want to tag what it costs us to go out and what it costs us to do a Perth match, for example. And as you know, there's a current tour going on again. And we turned around to our team internally and said, can we actually pull this off in a couple of weeks? And magically, we've got incredible people here. They have. And in about 2 weeks, we've turned around this feature set. And I'm very excited to be able to say we can now do that.
Mate,
So
I'm just glad they didn't come to you asking you to keep the Wallabies competitive until the final 20 minutes of the match, because that would have been a bit of a challenge. Listen, I do want to ask before we wrap, in terms of your ambitions and becoming a global company, where do you see yourself in about 5 years from now?
Simon, ideally, we are being, as I mentioned, we're being approached by multinationals, and we want to be able to help them manage a global treasury platform around the world, and being able to make it very simple to do international batch payments and global batch payments, no matter where you are. So where we see ourselves is more of a cloud treasury solution in the future, where we make it very, very simple to do your approvals and your expenses and your payments in one place, no matter which country you're based. Our partnerships with people like Barclays, Visa, JP Morgan is opening this up for us and allowing us to kind of go to markets like New Zealand, which other people cannot. And therefore, our ambitions is to be a truly global company. We started in Australia. All our staff in Australia, we're very proud to be Australian-based. But right now, we have our eyes set on the rest of the world, in particular the Commonwealth countries. And that's kind of our ambition over the next 5 years.
All right, well, great to have you back on the show again today, Jaco. All the best with Paytron. Look forward to seeing how you go with that raise. I'm sure it'll be a great success, because, of course, that partnership with JP Morgan is an extraordinary collaboration. So good to hear you're kicking the goals across the field.
Thank you so much, Simon. It's always great to be on the show, man. Big fan.
All right, cheers.